I'm Sophia A. Jackson, and today I'm joined by...
Nicholai La Barrie, and I'm the Associate Director at Edinburgh, Hammersmith.
Thank you. So Aladdin is in previews from tomorrow. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me today. How is this final week going before the big day tomorrow?
It's going pretty well. Techs are always complex and it's a lot of problem solving. It's a lot of, you get to a point where something you did in rehearsal was really working, and then you look at everything on stage and you go, oh, that doesn't make any sense, or that doesn't work, or that thing that I thought was going to be this size is actually this size, so I have to readjust. There's a lot of that going on, but the technical team here at the Lyric and the creative team and the actors are absolutely brilliant. So everybody's working their socks off to make sure we get everything that we need done. So yeah, it's good, and also just seeing certain bits, which was like just a drawing 4 weeks ago, and now is a whole massive, great big thing, and it looks phenomenal, and you're like, oh my god, I had no idea it was going to look like this. Some of it is really breathtaking, and that's the best bit for me. Yeah,
that sounds very exciting. And does it change much from rehearsals to tech to now you're open?
Yeah. We changed massively. In rehearsals for a show like this, it's just a sketch. It's a sketch of a thing, and I kind of, this is how it should feel like more than anything else. And then when it has costumes and lights and sound on it, you go, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know it was gonna feel like that with all of these different things, because you add color into something and you add a costume that maybe behaves slightly differently than you thought it was going to behave. The script is still the script and the story is still there, but then how you interpret that story and what the image is that you're looking at on stage and what it sounds like will change. So you kind of go, okay, so this is what it is, and I have to adjust these things. So you might go, we want to go a little bit later with that beat, or that song doesn't quite work there, or that sound doesn't work and it should feel more like this, or it should feel more like that. And then everybody readjusts where they're at, and then you test that out and you go, okay, that's cool for now. And then you see it in a dress rehearsal and you see it in a preview. Previews are really great because then what you get to do is you look at it and you can go, oh, okay, so I need to change that and tweak that again. And so the show is still the show, but it tightens and gets smoother and clearer. Because the thing I guess that I am always going for is a kind of clarity of intent when you're making a show, right? So that the audience doesn't necessarily have to ask a question. They're not asking a question about what they're seeing. They're only asking questions you need them to ask.
So once the show's opened as directed, do you have to have a cutoff point where you're like, right, I'm not making any more changes, or do you find that you have to keep making changes all the time?
There's a cutoff point. There's a thing called show lock.
Okay.
So there's a day after which you can make no more changes, where everybody goes, this is the show, and that's how it's going to be. If you do the show again, if it comes back somewhere, if a thing happens again, then you can go, well, I'll make these changes. But once the show lock happens, because on a practical level, the creative team are only employed for a certain amount of time. They're only employed up until the show opens.
Right.
Because like there's a saying that goes, art is never finished, it's just abandoned. If we were still there all the way through, we would change something every day.
Yeah.
Right. And then it means that the actors and the technical team and the stage managers will never get a chance to do a show that they are confident in, because there's idiots like me who are just walking around going, I think we should have a half beat later and that light over there, or maybe let's just have this sound, or maybe let's just move that thing, or you know what I mean, or that step on bar 14 doesn't feel right, so let's change that. And like it's overcooking it at a certain point, right? So which is why we have to have show lock, so everybody working on the show can get really confident with the show that they have on, and then they know what they're doing.
So is show lock up until press night?
Yeah, show lock is the day before press night on this.
Yeah, that would make sense. So you said about the story, like you said, it's all coming together, but there are so many versions of Aladdin, or any panto show usually. How do you not bring in bits that you've seen from a different version of Aladdin and just make it special for the lyric Hammersmith?
Well, I think you're writing for your time, right? And Sonia Jalali, who wrote this, is an incredible writer, and
Mm,
so you kind of look at the story of Aladdin and you go, what's our take on it? What's her take on it? What's her vibe on it? How do you want to interpret it for the time that we live in now? And she
yeah,
was really, really clear from the beginning that she wanted to write a love story. So she wanted to look at, she wanted to make a rom-com on stage, essentially, right? And so from the beginning, when we talked about it, she was like, that's what I want to do. And so everything else is kind of fed into us making a rom-com that's magical, that has a flying carpet and that has a genie and that has all of these different kinds of things in it.
yeah,
But essentially the core of the story is these two people falling in love, and then what the complexity of the beginnings of that relationship is. And you could take away all the magical craziness and you could take away all the pantoness, and still you'd have these two people from different worlds who meet and try and make it work. And the thing that doesn't get them to work has nothing to do with all this other stuff. It's because they fundamentally have to meet each other where they are, rather than they pushed together by some otherworldly magical force. They have to come to a realization that they have to be compassionate with each other. They have to be open. They have to be willing to look at themselves deeply and ask themselves some questions, and then the relationship happens. Like that's the salient thing that's always there. And I mean, it's interesting to talk about that in a panto, but it's a really fully formed love story between these two human beings, and then all the other craziness happens around it.
And when it comes to deciding on what pantomime to do, how do you make that decision? And do you have to do theatres consult within each other and say, like, this year we're doing Aladdin, next year
No,
do you just
no.
go for it and hope that not 5 theatres are doing Aladdin?
Well, even if 5 theaters are doing it, that's the great thing about panto, right? And the
Yeah,
tradition of panto is that even if everybody does a Jack and the Beanstalk that particular year, it will be different Jack and the Beanstalks because
true.
everybody's going to interpret it differently. But the
Yeah,
other thing that's really important is that this is for your local community. This is for the people who live, essentially, more people come and see it, but it's essentially for the people of West London. Ours is for the people of West London. Stratford
right.
East is for the people of East London.
Yeah,
Then in High Wycombe, they're going to have theirs. And in Salisbury, they have theirs. And so it's for that particular community. So it speaks to that particular community. And it is like, that's why I said it's of our time. So there's
yeah,
references to Hammersmith in it, there's references to West London, there's references to where they live. So it's specific to where you are, place and time. So that doesn't really which one we do is on a rotation. So there's like 5 classic pantos, and then we pick the one that is next in the list to be able to do. So we put them on rotation essentially.
yeah, that sounds quite straightforward. And as director, how do you get the perfect balance between adult humor and child humor? Because there's jokes that only adults will get, and then there's jokes that children get more than the adults. How do you do that?
Well, I mean that's Sonia who wrote it. That's her she's very, very funny. And so she's writing jokes that live on a couple of different levels all the time. So if
Okay.
it's you can interpret it one way and you can interpret it the other way. It's very much like a Disney film, or not like a Pixar film or something like that. Um, but also I think that it's a lot of trust with the company and the cast, because these guys know what they're doing, they're very, very funny people. But it's a lot of conversation. So you make a joke and you go, well, there's another joke in there, and there's another joke in there, and there's another joke in there. And
Mm,
we sort of dig out all of the jokes in there, and then we pick the ones that we want to use, and then we get rid of the ones that we don't want to use. And because we in a space in rehearsal in particular where we're just trying to make each other laugh. That it's the best job, because you're coming to work every day, and the thing that you're trying to do is just make everybody laugh. So, and everybody in the room is trying to make everybody else laugh. So
oh, that
Adam
sounds
is
fantastic.
a musical director. He will play a thing when something is happening on stage, and we'll just go, yeah, let's use that. or let's use that. Or he goes, this is a reference for this thing, or somebody will come up with like there's a joke in the show. I'm not gonna say what it is, and it's not a rude joke or anything, but it is absolutely hilarious. And I didn't come up with it. Two of the actors in the scene came up with it. It is so funny. Every single time I see that, I almost fall off of my chair. And it is silly and it's stupid and it's there for about 10 seconds. And I laugh so hard at it. But it's because they went away and they came back the next day and said, and they were like, we have something. We don't know if it's going to work or not. And they tried it and it worked. And I was just like, do it more. And so it's that thing of being in rehearsal and I'm just going, is this funny? Can we try that? Can we do that? And then you have all of this material and then you have to whittle it down.
So it's pantomime.
We cut more stuff than we cut as much stuff that's in the show now. So there's, as long as the show is, there's as much of that stuff that we haven't used that we made.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is pantomime your favorite time of year then, panto season? Because it sounds like it's so much fun.
Well, it's a lot of fun, but also I really like Christmas, and I really like my extended family isn't in this country, so I didn't grow up here, and so it feels like when I make a panto, I get a family for free,
Yeah.
to hang out with and feel close to because they really bond over the course of the rehearsal period. And again, if you're in a place where you're trying to make somebody laugh, you understand people's sense of humor really super quick, right? And then that kind of makes you into a family pretty quickly.
Thank you. And as director, what have you sprinkled onto the show? What is your trademark?
God, I don't know that I have one. I think I want to make the thing that I'm working on in that particular moment as as clear as possible for the audience. And this one is about just everybody having a good time, from Nan to a 2-year-old coming in and seeing it, and everybody just feeling like they left full. They had a full meal.
And can you share one tip for someone who's directing their first pantomime?
Listen to your musical director.
Why is that important?
Because you're essentially making a musical comedy in a very short amount of time. And music, in a musical, music helps tell you what's happening to those characters and helps you go to places that you couldn't necessarily go to on stage. So if you have a good musical director and they understand how to make emotional beats even more emotional, they're worth their weight in gold. So listen to your musical director.
We have a quick fire round, so you don't think too long about your answers. So who would you like to see at the Aladdin press night, dead or alive, if you can invite absolutely anyone?
Idris Elba, because we make a joke about him in the show.
Should be possible, surely.
Yeah. I don't know if has he moved back to Africa yet? Has he gone yet? I don't know.
I don't think so. I feel like you can slide into his DMs. Who has had the biggest impact on your theatre career in particular that you would like to thank now on this interview?
It's two people, a man named Wendell Warren and a man named John Isaacs, and they were my first drama teachers when I was 10 years old. And I loved them to bits, and they became very good friends as I got older. And they still, well, one of them passed away, but Wendell is still my very, very good friend. And he is, I would be nothing in theatre without those two human beings.
Oh, thank you. And finally, actually not finally in this section, but can you share an early theatre memory of like going to Panto and who you went with and where? If you did, that is.
Well, I grew up in Trinidad and we don't have pantos in Trinidad. So the first panto I saw was here.
Okay.
And I remember I went by myself. And I sat in the auditorium and I did not know what was happening. I was confused because it's very specific. So you're like, what is going, why everybody shouting at the audience? Why are they talking directly to us? What is this? I didn't understand that at all.
And here you are directing pantomime.
Yeah, yeah. I did my homework. I studied it before I directed the first one.
And do they have an equivalent to a Christmas show in Trinidad then?
Oh, no, no, no. I mean, there's big shows, but there's nothing like a panto in the sense that they have it here. There's and not to say that we don't have fun because we have carnival, obviously, but it's nothing like this. The tradition is very, very specific to this country.
Yeah. And my actual final question is why should we come and see Aladdin?
Because it is warm and bright and magical and full of joy and full of wonder. And it's a good night out for you and your whole family.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you
Are
very much. I look forward to seeing the show.
you going to come and see it?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. When are you coming?
I haven't booked in yet, but we are definitely coming to press night, or press day, I should say. And we're definitely reviewing. So I need to get my tickets booked in and come with my daughter as well.
Good. How old are you, daughter?
Literally just turned 10.
All right, good. Yeah, I have a son who just turned 10 too. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice. So will he be coming to see the show?
Yeah, he saw a run in the rehearsal a couple of weeks ago, and he had no notes, but every time he sees me in the corridor at home, he passes me and he goes, "Dad, it's really good, you know." And I was like, "Thanks, man."
That's all you need. Job done. All right. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a good day. Bye bye.